So therefore, if you're sitting, talking to a psychoanalyst, and the psychoanalyst says, you're disgusting, okay? That's not good psychoanalysis, okay? You're not going to get very far with someone being judgmental. So try to imagine in human communication, we don't know the truth of the situation. We don't know what's happening. We don't know what's up. So if I'm trying to process with you, what I don't want you to do is be judgmental. What I want you to do is help me. So the idea of Bina, I think what we call human processing is a core idea of Bina, because you start not understanding. Even if you think you understand, you start with a sense of, maybe I don't understand. Let's process this all over again so we can actually arrive at this is this, but not that. That's discernment. This is this, and not that, and not that. And even maybe saying it's this might not be entirely accurate. So chokhmah, you might say, is a deep kind of wisdom in general about things, very high level, to be a chacham, to be a sage. And Bina is more of a practice, the deliberate practice to think well, to think rationally, to use words correctly, to tell the truth in situations. The truth not meaning not to hide something, because of course we all have private lives, and some parts of our lives are public and some are private. But rather that the words you use accurately describe your thoughts, but not in a hurtful way. Another word for knowledge is da'at, which in the mystical tradition is probably deeper than chokhmah. Chokhmah really is the apex, if you look in the Greek philosophic tradition. But da'at has a sense of soul knowledge. I mean, there's rational knowledge. Again, I'm strongly in favor of it. But sometimes I talk to people and they ask me, how did I change? We've had all these rational discussions, and then you wake up one day and you feel better. And I've had the exact same thing. I'm doing all this cognitive grinding down, trying to get to the truth of the matter, and I don't know where it's going to go. And one day I wake up and feel better. And that's because the work is done in the soul. I think the spiritual work is, you might say, initiated and oftentimes generated in the mind, but the work is done in the soul. And one day the soul just reports up and says, thank you for leading here. Thank you for giving me the terminology. And now I've done my work, and here it is. So da'at is a kind of a soul knowledge, but I think soul knowledge is initiated by bina. So chokhmah, you might say, is the goal for understanding the world. Bina is a practice, and da'at, you might say, is what happens when you are seeking chokhmah and bina. And by the way, you will see this on the Kabbalistic chart here as on the higher sphere that we don't study in the 7 weeks, which is one reason I wanted to mention chokhmah, bina, and da'at from a spiritual psychological perspective. Okay, and so what you'll notice is, as we go through this, we are practicing a kind of bina. We're practicing a kind of a discernment, and you might say a self-understanding, because we know that our souls are our inner lives, although they are complex, they are understandable. Just because something is dynamic, in movement, doesn't mean that you can't isolate certain tendencies. So the soul doesn't run according to this. Right? The inner life is much more chaotic. But at least this helps us isolate certain tendencies. So this is based on you might call a psychodynamic, not traditional psychodynamic thought, but that the psyche, the soul, is always in a dynamic process. It's never stationary. There's no stasis. This presents stasis. I wish if I were a really great person with computer images, I'd put something here and I can just show you this, the seven sefirot all changing position and pushing here and fighting for dominance and so forth. That's what it actually looks like. This just gives you a picture, like let's separate the whole thing down, present stasis. But it doesn't work like this. Okay? This is only for a study aid. So what Bina tries to do is, for example, look at Chesed, as I said in the first week. Okay, there's an aspect of me that engages in love. And there's an aspect of me that wants to receive love. I'll say that is true. Now, what about that? And then you look more deeply. And you ask yourself, what happens when I love? As I said, for some people, it's fear. Now that I love you, you're going to leave me. For some people, it's demands. Now that I love you, here's what you must do. For other people, if they look very deeply, sometimes what they call love is actually an invitation for reciprocity. Since you love me, we have to be 50-50. So all of those you might call are lower kinds of chesed. The chesed of now I fear, now I demand, and it's just a business deal.
Sim, shalom, sim, shalom, sim, shalom, tova uveracha. Sim, shalom, sim, shalom, sim, shalom, tova uveracha. Ay, 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 ay. Ay, 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 ay. Sim, shalom, sim, shalom, sim.